What is a brand identity? If you're building a brand and you think it starts with a logo, we need to talk. Because while a logo might be the most visible part of the brand, it is not the most important. Before you design anything or before you even choose a brand name, you need to understand this. Your brand identity isn't just about how your brand looks, it's about how your brand thinks, sounds, and shows up. So let's clarify a few things that are often mixed up. The difference between a brand, branding, and brand identity. And before I introduce this, I just want to say that there's so many experts and designers that have their own definitions of what a brand identity is, and they have their own principles, and this is my definition and process and how I create a brand identity and what is included. So I see brand as the end result. It is the end perception of what others think of your brand. It's what people believe or feel about you based on what they've seen, heard, and felt. Now, how do you build this brand? It is done through branding. Branding is that ongoing effort and process to shape how people perceive your brand. It's used to shape how people experience and remember your brand. So now we have the brand, and then we have branding, which helps shapes the brand. But then what are we using to implement that branding? And that is the brand identity. Your brand identity is how you present yourself to the world with the goal of guiding people on how to perceive you. It is your first impression, your personality, your signature, all wrapped into one. And it's not just for design and aesthetics, it's also strategic and intentional. And basically your end goal, the brand, does depend on the brand identity. Because if you don't have the brand identity, you can't start this branding process. And if you can't start this branding process, then how are you going to create that brand? Number one, brand core. This is the foundation. The behind the scenes work not everybody sees. But this work is what influences the design elements that you see in a brand identity. When we talk about brand core, we're talking about the internal framework that drives everything else in our identity. So all the things like purpose, mission, vision, values, story, personality, and tone of voice, target audience, positioning, and differentiation. And all of these elements are combined to create the foundation of a brand identity. It's not really about the design, first of all. It's having something that's emotionally and strategically aligned. Without the brand core, all the other design elements then are just going to look like random artwork. It might look really good, but it won't necessarily connect. And so that's why we need to do this brand core work. If you get this right, then everything else from here has a purpose. From the words you write to the colors you choose, everything is aligned. Number two, brand name. Now that you've got a strong foundation, it's time to give your brand a name. And this is actually the first external expression of your identity. It's the first thing that people are going to type in a search bar and hopefully say out loud. And your name should do one or more of the following. Reflect your brand's tone or personality, connect emotionally with your audience, be easy to remember, spell, and say, and ideally be ownable or unique in your space. A name won't necessarily make your brand, but a mismatched name can definitely confuse you. Number three, verbal identity. Let's talk about how your brand speaks because words are powerful. Your verbal identity is how your brand expresses itself through language. And it includes tone of voice, taglines and slogans, messaging framework, and vocabulary. Let's compare. Nike speaks like a coach. Motivational, urgent, empowering, with the famous tagline, just do it. And MailChimp sounds friendly, quirky, and fun, but still smart and helpful. Your verbal identity helps people recognize you even without the logo. So whether someone's reading your website or interacting with your customer service, they still feel your brand personality. Number four, visual identity. Your visual identity is what people think of first, but it only works when it's rooted in everything that we just talked about. And typically what your visual identity includes is logo variations, color palette, typography, imagery style, brand graphics or illustrations, and brand guidelines. And these visual choices aren't random. They're all based from the brand core and the verbal identity, and of course has to take into consideration the brand name. They should reflect the emotional tone and personality of the brand you're aiming to create. And so the visual identity is how people recognize you at a glance. And the goal is consistency, because consistency builds recognition and recognition builds trust. And when you get people's trust, they're more likely to buy from you. Now let's talk about why your brand identity is so important, because it's not just a nice to have. In today's world, everything is shaped around visuals. We're constantly overwhelmed with so many ads and videos and reels and posts, and the first things that actually grab our attention are visuals. So every business needs to invest in a brand identity, because if you don't, you're just going to disappear into the crowd. It is literally the only thing that helps distinguish your brand in the sea of sameness. And think about it like this: what we buy today is emotional. We don't choose brands logically, it's always rooted back to feelings. And the fastest way to build any emotional connection is through visual and verbal consistency. When your brand looks the same, sounds the same, and feels the same on every single platform, from Instagram to your websites, to your packaging, to your pitch deck, that's when people start trusting you. Trust builds familiarity, familiarity builds preference, and preference is what leads people to choose you even if other brands are more experienced or cheaper. And that is the power of a brand identity. It's not just what makes you look good, it's what makes you feel like the obvious choice. Before you start picking colors or dropping cash on the logo, Do the strategic work. Build your brand core, find your brand voice, and then bring it all to life visually. Let's go through a really quick example. Let's take Aesop. Their muted color palette, scientific bottle design, the tone of voice. Even if you covered their logo, you'd still know it's Aesop because of the layouts, the styling, the photography, and obviously the design overall. And that's the power of a consistent brand identity. It's instantly recognizable without even trying. Think of it like this. Your brand is what people think of you. Branding is how you shape that. And a brand identity is what you designed to help bring that to life. And because all these definitions and video might feel a bit overwhelming, I created a free brand identity checklist that you can download in the YouTube description below. And this is going to really help you bring your brand identity together. If this helped clear what a brand identity is, let me know in the comments. And also let me know where you are in your branding journey. I'd love to hear more about it. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.